Okay. All right, we'll call the Muskegon County Board of Commissioners to order, and other business will be the invocation by Commissioner Marshall.
Can we stick to something else while I find it in here?
It's not on the agenda.
I'm trying to remember where I got it.
You want someone else to give the notation?
Well, give them another second. Marshall, the meeting is hopefully going to end around 5, so
No, I'm not good at that. Can we go back? Can you skip to something else and I'll find it?
I don't think we can do that. Can we, Mike?
Is there somebody that can do one ad with? Besides me?
Kim does a good
Charles.
job.
Can we give application? Bob, are you okay with that?
yeah, I'm fine. Go ahead, Keith.
Thank you, Father, for this time that we could share together. Father, and ask as we come together, Lord, that you would have a spirit of unity in the room, Father. That your peace would rest on this meeting, and everybody present. Thank you for wisdom going forward. We make correct decisions. We just thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Sear,
Here.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Here.
Commissioner Hughes,
Here.
Commissioner Laring,
Here.
Commissioner Nash,
Here.
Commissioner Pago,
Present.
Commissioner Wilkins, Chair Skolnick,
Here.
9 present.
Okay. Next is the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion that's been supported. Are there any comments or questions, anything on the agenda? I'll just do a voice vote on that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Opposed?
Okay, and then the next item is the approval of the regular and closed session minutes of February 15, 2022.
So moved.
Support.
All right, we have a motion that's been supported. Any corrections, any comments on those minutes? Nothing. We'll do a voice vote on those two. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, those are approved. Next, we have public comment on an agenda item. If there's anyone from the public that would like to speak, now is your opportunity. I don't have any sheets in front of me.
There's no winning online.
Okay. The next item is presentations. I think we have a presentation from the Guns Organization, GUNS. Traffic stops, shooting statistics. I think we have an officer here from the Michigan State Police, Chris McIntyre.
Thank you. I'll leave this off. My part is not on the PowerPoint, but I want to talk for a few minutes about a traffic study that we've done with Michigan State Police over the course of the past probably 4 or 5 years. We started collecting data on our traffic stops based on the race people that we're stopping. We had that data for about 3 years, and then what do you do with that data, right? So we partnered with Michigan State University to take a look at it and see what we can find from the information that we had. What we found is, no surprise to us, there's a disparity in people that we stop based on race, and the census data population is where they're supposed to live when we're stopping. Now, I caution the word disparity is not discrimination. Disparity is a simple difference in the number of folks that we're stopping based on the race compared to the census data we have from the area that we stopped them. What we did find is that I'm able to break that down by county. And for me, I can dig a little deeper into the city of Muskegon Heights because the city of Muskegon Heights is a secured city program within the Michigan State Police, meaning that I have troopers that are assigned to work there full time. So when I ran those numbers, it's great for Muskegon County. I'll tell you that the numbers for 2020, 2021, first 2020, Muskegon County as a whole, this is taking out the traffic stops we made in Muskegon Heights. Okay, so yes.
Are we gonna get a copy of this?
I have a copy here, my notes, you have
Perfect.
no problem at all. So taking out the folks we stopped in Muskegon Heights, just in Muskegon County, the percentage of our stops of white people were 84% of our stops. Based on the comparative data that tells us that the census information from Muskegon County is 81% white. The number of African Americans we stopped in Muskegon County was 10% of our stops. Based on the comparative data that tells us the census information in Muskegon County is 14% African American. If I dig down into Muskegon Heights, then the percentage of our stops in Muskegon Heights of white people were 20% of our stops, compared to the census data telling us that it's 18% of the population in Muskegon Heights is white. African Americans, percentage of our stops was 77%, real close to the percentage that tells us the 76% in Muskegon Heights. So we're real close there. The disparity gets a little bit flipped for African Americans and white in 2021. The percentage of our stops for white folks in Muskegon County outside of Muskegon Heights, 79% of our stops for white people, again, compared to that census information telling us 81% population is white in Muskegon County. African Americans went up a little bit, 12% of our stops for African American, but still 2 points below that 14% population in Muskegon County. Muskegon Heights, the percentage of our stops for white people in Muskegon Heights, 24% based on that population of 18%. It went up a little bit. We're a little bit higher based on the population of white people that live in Muskegon Heights. And the percentage of our stops for African Americans in Muskegon Heights went down to 74% based again on that population of 76. So we're below, if you will, which is pretty much in direct conflict with that narrative we sometimes hear that we are out there targeting African Americans. This dialogue of driving while black, it certainly isn't happening from the Michigan State Police's perspective and the number of stops we make based and compared to that census population in both Muskegon County and the city of Muskegon Heights. So that's the information that I shared that Commissioner Seard saw in a presentation I did, and I wanted just to come out and share that information with you folks too. I think we're doing a really darn good job in Muskegon County. I think we're doing a good job all over, but the numbers back us up in Muskegon County of the good work that we're doing based on what the perception might be. Any questions that I can answer for anybody? Go ahead.
Oh, wait.
Zach? Yes, sir.
Why, I mean, I can appreciate that Commissioner Sear asked you to present this, but why is it relevant? I'm assuming that you're pulling over people for speeding.
Violations.
For speeding violations. I'm not sure why race has to even be a factor or why we would study this. I'm assuming that the study would base, is there a suggestion that white people speed? I mean, I don't see why race would be a demographic that we would even study this. It's breaking the law that you're concerned with.
And I agree. It's not just speeding too. It's all violations of the Michigan Motor Vehicle Code. These types of studies have been imposed on police departments in our state and across the country to ask them to take a look at the number of people they're stopping and add race into that to see if they can figure out if they have a problem with that disparity, if you will. So because of that, the state police kind of got in front of that. We started collecting the information, and because we have the information, we made the decision to study it, see what it looked like. Now, the disparity we have, is it a problem? I really don't know. And that disparity is not just within Muskegon County, but across the state. So kind of our next steps with that information is to have Michigan State Police or Michigan State University continue to study that, to take a look and see if they can find if the disparity is an issue, be it in Muskegon County or anywhere else in the state. And if it is an issue, what can we do to change that issue?
One follow-up question, if I may.
Sure.
So did Did you follow up with that? I mean, these are stops or these are actually people that are cited?
The traffic stops.
Stops, not
Just
cited.
stops.
Did you break that down for people that were actually cited?
We don't have that information. Not that I'm aware of. It may be out there, but I don't have that data to take a look at.
Commissioner Tagle?
Yeah, I was exactly what Commissioner Laring had said. And then actually also you just mentioned a couple moments ago that who was it requested by that these studies were done? Who requested that?
Nobody requested of us. Police departments across the state and the country it's been requested of them.
Well,
For
right. So
instance,
who requested that? It's being
the
requested of
Michigan
them.
State Police.
You just said it's been requested.
Yeah, there's
So
been
who-
studies that have been warranted from different city commissions. I don't know who requested those. For instance, the Grand Rapids Police Department did a traffic study based on race in the city of Grand Rapids that was
Can we
requested
find out who's requesting these?
across the country.
Well, I guess what initiated, what prompted you, what prompted this?
What prompted us was
Correct.
those studies that were being requested from agencies outside of ours, and it was happening quite a bit based on a lot of the negative things we've seen across the country.
Okay,
Because those
I got
because
you.
those studies were requested, we got in front of it and took a look at our own data and started our own study to see where we're at.
Some vindication, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Lieutenant McIntyre, I see on my notes here, there's Dr. Pam Smith and a Janet Robinson. Are either of those people here?
Yes.
Do they want to speak?
They don't have a whole lot as far as the traffic stop study. This is kind of my portion of the presentation.
Oh, there's more.
Okay, yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
there
right.
is.
Yeah, Charles.
Yeah, I was gonna follow up that these are just, you're saying these are only traffic stops.
Yes, sir.
They're not involved with any type of crime or anything. of
No,
that
sir,
sort.
just traffic stops.
Okay. And I would be interested in finding out like you said, what is the outcome of these cases? And the only reason I ask that because whether we understand it or not, we all have a personal bias in some ways, and that is a part of the concern is that sometimes that bias is not understood by every individual, and so they don't see how sometimes their actions may create other reactions, and then it escalates to something else. And then if that becomes a trend in certain people, then that's a concern.
Sure.
And I say that because I've been involved with corrections for a number of years, and I see that constantly how some folks can have a mindset, a prejudice mindset right off the bat, and their actions invoke other actions from other folks. Whereas if you deal with it from a more, I guess, understanding point of view, things don't tend to escalate in that asset. Like I said, I've seen that in example. Matter of fact, the other day, because I seen how one officer was dealing with this individual, and you can just see it just angered him to the point. Next thing you know, escalated into a fight. So, it's not. I think if he had dealt with it better and they spoke better, it would have been much better. But you have to work on those things, and that's why I think some training and understanding can work out a lot less than that. But it would be good to know more details on how those outcomes came out.
Right, and I don't have that information.
Right.
It's not available to me for the information that I can search. We'll let that come out later on when Michigan State University does a deeper dive into the data to figure some of these things out, maybe. But as of right now, we don't have that information. Again, it's out there. It's just not available for us to search within the software program that we have right now.
Commissioner Tagle.
So to follow up on what you just said, a deeper dive. So Michigan State University is pursuing that. You just don't have that
They're
available.
pursuing what it means. So there's a disparity. And so they're trying to take a look at maybe some of the more information as far as what the outcomes of it.
So this is through Michigan State University.
Yes, we partnered with them to conduct a study for us. And they're the ones doing the follow-up research. We're told 3-4 months to a year before they're going to be back to us.
When did this start?
We started collecting data probably, this is a ballpark guess, but I want to say 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Yeah, and the first year we analyzed that data was 2000, and then 2001. We have both of those years. Now in 2000, 2020, 2021, 2022, the information isn't available to us to take a look at that.
And then, so your results that you just stated, what was the end date of those results?
I gave the information for 2020 and 2021.
So this, okay, calendar year.
Correct.
Commissioner Hughes.
When they started collecting this data for the last 4 years, did they give it to you after the first year? Or did you not get it?
No, well, we had the data for some time before we made the decision that we probably need to do something with this data. We collected it all with no analysis of it. This is why we partnered with Michigan State University to do an analysis of the data to see what it would show us.
Did it change the way the officers reacted?
Yep.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
Did you all actually get numbers? Like the number of stops?
Yes.
Okay, can we get those numbers too? I'm just wondering if there's a difference in the numbers at all, not just the percentages.
I can get you that data.
Okay.
I have it available.
Okay.
But it will simply show. So for instance, if the population, well, it will show the number of stops. That will tell us that was 70. So for instance, in 2020, the percentage of people we stopped in Muskegon Heights, that was 77% of the stops we made for African Americans.
Right.
Be a number along with that. Be it, I'm not sure what the
Okay.
number is. I wouldn't even want to venture a guess out there to the number, but that number will be there, but it will represent the number of stops based on the population.
One.
Who was the study funded by?
I don't know.
Can we find that out?
I can try to find out.
Thank you.
One more question.
Oh my God, yes. Okay.
When you, is there any way to tell, I mean, are most of your stops during the day or at night? I'm just saying, can you actually even tell what color a person is when you start to pull them over? I'm guessing anytime I ever got pulled over, you weren't close enough to tell them what color I was. All you knew was I was speeding.
It's very difficult to tell what the color of the person was when we make the decision at the traffic stop. So typically, we'll find out once we get up to the stop.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I think, does Dr. Smith?
Yes.
have a
I'll
Thank
leave
you.
this with these so you can hand to the board.
Okay.
Kathy, she'll want to make copies.
Sure.
for
You can
everyone.
just have
Thank
that.
you.
That's fine.
No, I don't know how to work the slides from here, so.
I'm gonna give you, can you give me that?
Right.
You're gonna aim at this computer right here?
Either for,
Jane.
I can start without it for now, if that's okay. Okay, so my name is Dr. Pamela Smith, and in 2018, we partnered with the Muskegon Heights Police Department. At that time, Chief Thomas was still the police chief, and there was an interest in pursuing a program that would reduce gun violence. Some of you may remember in, I believe it was 2016, 2015, there were as many as 17 deaths by gun violence in the city of Muskegon Heights. And so there was an interest on our part. Actually, it started with the Social Justice Commission, myself and Janet Robinson, who is a police, works for the Michigan State Police. We partnered with Dr. Thomas, Chief Thomas, and we began to look at this whole issue of gun violence and what could we do to stop it. And so at that time, we reached out to the police department, we reached out to the sheriff's department, and we began to do some surveys in the community. So at the end of this presentation, I will provide for you an overview of the guns program. And a couple of the commissioners attended our last monthly meeting 2 months ago, and they asked us to present this because some of them had not heard of GUNS. GUNS stands for Gaining Unity through Nonviolent Solutions. So kind of like it's not guns in the negative, it's guns in the positive. So that's how that came about. These slides actually came about because the city of Muskegon Heights, after introducing the program, won a community policing award nationally for the size of the city. We were the top community policing city for our size in 2019. Unfortunately, I think it was 2020, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, COVID came about and we weren't even able to go to New Orleans to receive our award, but we did finally receive it. So, so GUNS kind of was a result of that. I'm gonna try to, so this shows you our partners, and you can see that we've worked with, even though it began in Muskegon Heights, we have partnered with all of the police departments. We have monthly meetings, and these are the 4 programs that we focus on: education, stopping gun violence, prevention, community outcomes, and we reach out to parents as well as teens. Not just teens, but all young people. But primarily we've done studies or surveys with teens. And so you can see what we expect from community outcomes. These are some of the surveys that we actually did with students, with Muskegon High School students, Muskegon Heights students, Mona Shores, and a few students from North Muskegon. Okay, and they complete these surveys and they actually tell us, you know, what they understand about gun violence, how it's impacting their lives. And so we are able to get some evidence-based information from them so that we know how to address gun violence in our community. So as you can see, education was a big part of it, okay? And then we began having community conversations on a monthly basis. And so we did breakout groups, and these are some of the responses we got. Our largest meeting that we had had to date, we had close to 250 community members in attendance at our largest meeting. We now have a database of over 500 community members and professionals who are interested in stopping gun violence. Okay, so you can see this was some of the youth responses. Okay, they tell us why they carry guns, and you can see some of the responses. Many of the youth indicate that they did not expect to live beyond 18 years of age because of the gun violence in our community, okay? So we're very, very much involved and very, what can you say, very honest in their opinions and sharing. And so this is the type of information that we try to gather. We also meet with school leaders and work with them, residents and taxpayers, okay? These are some of the things they say we need to do. And so as a result of these, we've begun to do some of these activities and implement them. We began to have walk and talks, and those are simply opportunities to walk the tracks at Muskegon Heights and Muskegon in, you know, around their football fields. And our partners here, Chief Thomas, the State Police, Chief Sane, I'm sorry, it's Chief Thomas, but I'm sorry, Chief Sane, the Sheriff's Department, they all participate in these events, okay? There have been State Police, Sheriff Department, Muskegon Heights Police, Muskegon Police at every single meeting. And that's why we won the award that we did for National Community Policing. We're one of the few doing this effort at this level. So I have for you, I know that they're short on time, so I have for each of you the brochure that we present to all of the communities. And we also have gun safety tips that we provide for all of the residents in our communities, okay? And we'll stop there. There's a lot more to talk about, but I'll stop there and answer any questions you have, and then bring up Chief Thomas.
Commissioner Pego.
Since you started this, has there been a percentage of what percentage of reduction have you seen?
Well, I don't want to take away.
Oh, is he going to present that? Oh, okay.
I don't want to take away his thunder.
Okay.
Because he's going to tell you how
Strike
much.
that. I didn't ask that.
Yeah. So Chief Lane is going to share with you
Okay.
Those numbers and how they reduce. Unfortunately, Inspector Lewis is not here, so he can't give you the Muskegon numbers. We can give you the Muskegon Heights numbers because initially this was our target.
Mm-hmm.
This was the city that was having the most problems, and so that was our target. But going into 2022, we have, we're very pleased with the program. Like I said, it's community-based. And that's what I think has done the resulted.
Can I keep, if I remember correctly, and I think it was before I was a commissioner, I had attended some of the meetings. Are you the one that you hire and pay youth through the summer through things, or is that someone else?
We don't get paid. This is
no. It's not you, that's someone else.
No,
okay.
This is all volunteer.
No, I know, but
initiative.
I thought there is a program through the Social Justice Commission that there was someone. I thought you were the same lady.
We secured grants to conduct the work that we do, but it's all volunteer based, and the community comes out on a volunteer basis. Okay, and so they come out. Everything is volunteer based, and that's how it started.
Thank you.
But we have received grants from the Community Foundation, from the federal government, and to continue this programming. Yes.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask, how often does this organization meet, and do you guys have anything planned for the future coming up here?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, the way we are here today, we're here today because two of the commissioners attended our February meeting, and they asked us to share this information. But we meet prior to the pandemic. We met monthly. We may meet at a local church. We may meet at the high school, Muskegon High School, Muskegon Heights High School. You name it, we are all around the city in terms of our meeting space. During the pandemic, we met outside on the football fields because we couldn't meet in person. We have had parents who have experienced gun violence with their children to come and speak to us and talk about the impact. Most recently, we're focusing on mental health issues and how the mental health of our youth is being impacted. And we're really excited going into 2022. The University of Michigan has asked guns to be a part of a study that they are doing, research that they're doing on reducing gun violence. They have an institute on the campus. And so Gaining Unity Through Nonviolent Solutions is working with them. And the other program that's working with them is called Trigger in Washington, D.C. So the city of Muskegon Heights, our guns program was literally invited to work with this. So that's in our future.
Good.
Yes.
Okay,
Other questions?
we're gonna have to keep moving here.
Okay.
35-page agenda to get
So
through today.
I will turn it over to Chief Sane.
Thank
I'll
you.
make these available to you all.
Thank you all for having me today. I'm Chief Sane with the Muskegon Heights Police Department. Like she said, in 2018, Guns was formed with Muskegon Heights Police Department. In 2019, we had 454 shot fire complaints. We had 35 gunshot victims, and we had 5 homicides that year. In 2020, we had 449 shot fire complaints, 37 shot victims, and 5 homicides. In year 2021, we had 404 shot fires who went down again, 33 victims, and only 4 homicides. And we do believe that a lot of that is contributed to what we're doing with the guns program. A lot of times we're boots on the ground, talking to kids, talking to the parents in the community, just having an open dialogue with gun safety, being responsible if you are a gun owner, how to keep your guns locked up. People who own guns legally leave them in their car, unattended. Cars get broken into, those guns end up out on the street in the wrong hands. So just kind of educating the community on some of the things they can do to help prevent those things from happening has decreased some of the crime in the city of Muskegon Heights. And if you know the relationship between the city of Muskegon Heights and the city of Muskegon, you know, a lot of times our issues are related to one another. It's a shooting that happens in Muskegon Heights. We have retaliation sometimes in the city of Muskegon. So that goes back and forth. And we were able last summer to work with the Muskegon Police Department, and I believe some funding that you all voted for with the sheriff that allowed us to do some cross patrolling. So what we did was patrol Lakeland to Broadway. All cars being able to operate in that area allowed us to stop a lot of the back and forth traffic that was going on between the two cities, and that was greatly appreciated and also helped reduce the violent crimes. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. We appreciate it. We'll move ahead to committee and board reports. The first committee is Community Development and Strategic Planning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There was 3 items: CDS SP 22/03-08, -09, and -10.
Support.
Should support.
Okay, so we have 08, 09, 010. The motion has been made. They've been supported. Is there any discussion on any of these? Yes, Mr. Leonard.
Bob, can you answer a couple questions? So I have your budget analysis for the campground. It's 03-0-909.
For bathhouse.
Bathhouse. Is this the budget analysis that we did a year and a half ago?
No, that's been updated.
This is updated. So on this, I don't see, you've got, for the bathhouse, you've got $51,000 for site work. For the maintenance building, that's not included in this proposal?
That is not.
Okay, so we're going to tear down 2 bathrooms. Did you include the demolition in the site work? I mean,
It is, yes.
so we're going to do all of that site work for $51,000. Tear down 2 bathhouses, resculpt where the one was tore down, build a new one. This doesn't include the septic, or that's included in the site work?
That is included. But that's not the expanded septic.
All right. So I did notice a couple of things on here. So the demo is included in the site work, but the septic is not. And also you've got mechanical for $144,000, but typically mechanical and plumbing are broke out separately. And I don't see plumbing on here. The HVAC and the plumbing, are you including that in one, or will you have a separate proposal in here for plumbing?
The figures that you see there are for the entire facility, for construction of the entire facility.
All right. Except for the septic system, the expanded septic.
Expanded septic, yes.
And if you're mechanical, so the HVAC, it won't be heated, but that's just for exhaust fans, I'm assuming. And then under here, you've also got the owner provided the furniture, the FF&E. Typically, there's not a lot of FF&E in restrooms.
Right.
So I'm assuming your mechanical is going to be way light. If you've got all the plumbing fixtures and the FF&E, the toilet partitions, that's all going to come back under the architectural cost or the general contractor's cost. I think your proposal is a little bit light on this, particularly because it doesn't include the expanded septic tank, which included so much of the conversation last week is how this was actually going to work to provide septic for how many campsites?
Well, there are 235.
So that's a heck of a mounded system that you're going to wind up building for this expanded restroom and 200 sites. So you're going to come back to this commission with another proposal for this expanded septic system?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Mrs. Payne?
Yep, I do. So you just said you'll come back for another proposal for an expanded septic system. Where would the funding come from then?
That would be yet to be determined.
What is your prospectus?
My prospectus,
Like,
For that
what do you think that it would be from?
I wouldn't even want to venture a guess.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
No, just a question. So basically what we're proposing at this point in time is to apply and accept the grant. And then at that point, you'll have some additional, numbers. Is that?
Yes, this is to apply for the grant, and if it is awarded, to accept that grant.
Thank you.
Yes, Mrs. Hughes.
You do expect to do the bathhouse and the septic as one project?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, Mr. Warren.
So, and just a reminder to the board, and we're going back to Doug's question, this completely drains the reserve fund to apply for this grant using this grant. So there are no more funds in the reserve fund for this, for a septic tank and any additional costs, which I think this estimate is light. Just so the board knows when they're voting on this, they're going to have to come up, no point in tearing down a bathroom, and if you can't build a new septic system, this whole thing is talked about expanding sewer to 200 sites. It's a heck of a mounded site they're talking about putting in here.
There was a match for us too, right?
Yes, which drains the reserve fund.
Right.
Unless ARPA funds are used.
So that's a $510,000 match, is that?
I believe it was.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll do a roll call on this, please.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes on all.
Commissioner Seer,
No on 8, yes on 9 and 10.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes on all.
Vice Chair Hughes,
No on 8, yes on everything else.
Commissioner Laring,
No on all three.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes, I know.
Commissioner Pago,
No on 8, no on 9, and yes on 10.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes and no.
Chair Skolnick,
Yes, I'm all.
five yes, 4 no on 8. 7 yes, 2 no on 9. 8 yes, 1 no on 10.
Okay,
That concludes my report.
thank you, Mr. Brown. Next up is the report of the Courts and Public Safety Committee chaired by Commissioner Pegel.
Okay, this is. Oh, we have new software. It doesn't tell me the date that we met. However, the Courts and Public Safety Committee met sometime in the last 14 days, whenever it was. And I recommend and move CPS 22/03- 15 through CPS 22/03-16. On March 8th. That was March 8th. Thank you.
Okay, we had a motion, motion by Commissioner Pego, support by Commissioner Brown. We're considering the courts and public safety items 15 and 16. Is there any discussion on either of those items? If not, we'll do a roll call on this one, please.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes and all.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes on all.
Vice Chair Hughes,
Yes on all.
Commissioner Laring,
No on all.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes, I know.
Commissioner Pago,
Yes on 15, no on 16.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes on all.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes and all.
Chair Skolnick,
Yes on all.
8 yes, 1 no on 15, 7 yes, 2 no on 16.
Thank you, Commissioner Pego, for your report. Next up is the Human Services Committee, chaired by Commissioner Hovey Wright.
The Human Services Committee met
March 8th.
March 8th as well. And I move that we accept HS 22/03-03 and HS 22/03-04.
Support.
Okay, we've had, there's just two motions under Human Services, 03 and 04. Is there any discussion on those items? Seeing no discussion, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes on both?
Vice Chair Hughes,
Yes on both.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes on both.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes, I'm both.
Commissioner Pago,
Yes on both.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes on both.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes on both.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes on both.
Chair Skolnick,
Yes on both.
9 yes on both.
Thank you, Commissioner Hovey Wright.
Oh, that is my report.
Next up is the report of the Transportation Committee, chaired by Commissioner Brown.
Thank you very much. The Transportation Committee met on March 10th. They recommended move TR 22/03-09, -10, -11, -12, -13, and -14.
Support.
All right, we've had under the Transportation Committee report, TR 22-03-9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion, comments on any of these items? If not, then the roll call again.
Vice Chair Hughes,
Yes on all.
Commissioner Laring,
No on 10, yes on the rest.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I did have a question and I didn't get a chance to ask it on number 11. Did we get to follow up on the opt-out for that?
Yes. Yeah, this they gave us.
Having no contract.
Yeah, I think there is.
Joel, they're talking about a opt-out.
Yes.
Want me to address that?
Good afternoon, Joel Burgess with Muskegon County Airport. There's two provisions within that lease that we could use for terminating the agreement. One is eminent domain if we need it, and also there is language in there if the airport needs to use it for a higher and better use, then we would just move that parking lot to a different site in the airport. So we do have two different sections at least that we can use.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we stopped. I think Commissioner Waring was on this one.
yes, I was on Commissioner Nash.
Okay.
You ready? Commissioner Nash,
Yes. Yes, on all.
Commissioner Pago,
Okay. Let's see. I am no on 9 and 10, and yes on 11 through 14.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes, on all.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes on all.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes, on all.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes on all.
Chair Skolnick,
Yes, on all.
8 yes, 1 no on 9, 7 yes, 2 no on 10, 9 yes on 11, 12, 13, and 14.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Okay,
It was
thank you.
easier than on March 10th, so.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Okay, the final committee report is Ways and Means by the chair of that committee, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Ways and Means Committee met on March 8th, 2022, and I moved on items WM 22/03-17-18-19-20, -21, -23, -24, -25, -26, 27, and 28.
Okay, we have all of those items on Ways and Means, number 17 to 28, and they have been moved and supported. Is there any questions, comments, corrections, anything, not corrections so much, but any discussion on any of those items? If not, roll call, please.
Commissioner Laring,
No on 26, 27, and 28, yes on the rest.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes, on all.
Commissioner Pago,
No on 17, 18, 19, 21, 26, and 27. And yes, 20, 23, 24, 25, and 28.
22.
22 was removed.
That's why I thought he didn't. And when
It was removed it.
No one. 17, 18, 19.
Do you need me to repeat mine or do you have?
I have no's on 17, 18, 19, 21, 26, and 27.
Correct. Thank you.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes, on all.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes on all.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes, on all.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes on all.
Vice Chair Hughes,
No on 28, yes on everything else.
Chair Skolnick.
Yes, on all.
8 yes, 1 no on 17, 8 yes, 1 no on 18, 8 yes, 1 no on 19, 9 yes on 20, 8 yes, 1 no on 21, 9 yes, 23, 9 yes on 24, 9 yes on 25, 7 yes, 2 no on 26, 7 yes, 2 no on 27, 7 yes, 2 no on 28.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Seer, for your report. And Linda, thank you for that complicated. All right, moving along to the chairman's report, the committee liaison reports. I would like to make a motion to reappoint Janice Hillary to the Health West Board for a 3-year term beginning April 1st, 2022 through March 31st, 2025. All right, it's been supported. Just I'd like to make one comment. Mrs. Hillary has been on that board, and I can't think of a better person actually than her with multiple foster kids and multiple adoptions in her family. Excellent person. Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
How long has she been on the board and was there any other applicants?
Just 3 years, I think. 1 term.
This is your second term.
Is she here?
There were no other applicants.
No other applicants? Oh. Thank you.
Okay. I'll just do a voice vote on this. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Next up is the administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 11A, correspondence of the legislators in support of Senate Bill 885 to improve the Michigan's food security and investment in rural communities. You had, I just wanted you to see the letters that we're sending out. We talked about this at Public Works, how this will help the state of Michigan improve their agricultural relationships as far as expansion in rural communities. So there's 3 letters there attached, and unless there's any real objection, it's just more information. Moving on, D, move to authorize the sheriff's office and the finance office to award a contract for investigative vehicles based on the best price, term, and financing option, and authorize the board chair to sign the agreement once finalized.
So I'll make the motion.
Second.
And support, and
yeah, we have to explain it, and I think the sheriff is here as well.
This is sheriff. Yeah, this is a little different.
It is. Obviously, you're familiar with the 2 previous requests that we've had to the board to try to get this vehicle purchased. The first vehicle was sold while we were going through the process of getting approval. The second vehicle has since been sold. We do have a 3rd vehicle that we're hoping will still be ready to go if we do get approval today. I think what you're seeing here is kind of a vague request. Agreed. It's not very specific in dollar amount and term and all of that stuff, but I think with what we're dealing with, the shortage of vehicles, we need to have that ability to go out, find the vehicle, and make that purchase right when we find it.
Just a brief question. I think it's unusual that the finance department collaborates with the sheriff's department in the buying of a vehicle. I'm wondering why.
Well, because there's going to be a contract involved in terms of an agreement. Who best to do that than the finance department?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, Commissioner.
No, go ahead, Commissioner.
I wondered, I don't see where this went through procurement at all, and I'd like to know if that happened.
Yes,
Through what?
this is the one that came to the board prior for approval. And we agreed to a 2-year lease. That 2-year lease was up, and so instead of going back through committee, since it's already been through committee in full board, we're bringing it back for lease period, probably looking at 3 years versus 2, and would therefore be a little bit more money. But again, as Deputy Sanford said, Under Sheriff Sanford said, is we're missing out on the vehicles before we get the chance to negotiate with them. They're selling them.
One reason I ask this is because there's a ton of vehicles sitting outside over at emergency services that even have our name on them and everything. Why aren't we using those?
Those are going to be for the law enforcement division. Those will be marked on the road. You're referring to the white Ford Explorers.
And there's some blue ones over there too.
If they're blue, they're not ours.
Yeah. So there's quite a few of them over there with our name on them.
Not blue.
Okay.
The white Explorers are all going to be, those will be our vehicles out on the road. Once they get decaled and equipped.
This is a detective's car, so this is unmarked.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and I think another thing was, as far as this lease goes, if I understand this right, you may be wrong, but they want to rotate these cars periodically, so just to keep them a little bit mysterious to whoever they're looking for.
This was, if you remember, a couple of months ago, we talked about this, and it was brought to us because the state of Michigan changed their guidelines that if they're not employed by the state of Michigan, then they're not able to drive their vehicles for WEMA. And so we do have to provide this vehicle. And we talked about this a couple months ago. And maybe you can fill the gaps in there.
Yeah, the majority of the funding comes from that already budgeted item that we had with the state police. I believe that deadline is come and gone.
It has.
And we're actually borrowing a vehicle right now through emergency services.
Okay.
My question, I just wanted to clarify that, but I do still have a question. So this actually does, on this motion, Mark or Angie, whoever, this has the same number that we approved in the original contract of 9257. And is that what you're asking for us to approve again today? Or
Angie?
Good afternoon, Angela Gashevsky, Finance Director. The actual suggested motion does not include the dollar amount or the term. It's in the detail of the motion just to refer to how the original motion was approved.
so I'm glad you pointed that out. Yeah, so you're leaving this open-ended that, I mean, we gotta have a cap on this, so.
Well, the idea is to keep the range closed. I mean, if we can do a 2-year lease and find one, we will. If we do a 3-year, we'll do 3-year. But so it'll be all within comparison of what we already approved.
And within budget.
Yeah, the problem being if there's a week to get them, to get it through committees.
Oh, I know what the problem
Yeah,
is.
we
We keep
understand.
running, by the time they get back to it, the vehicles are gone, and that's a problem. I mean, I get it. There's a huge problem with the vehicles right now.
Charles.
I hate to say it, but the problem is this board. We just, I mean, we need to let these folks do their job.
Yeah.
That's what we hired them to do. That's what we put them in director and positions to do. That's why people get elected. And we're tying their hands. And now they're borrowing a car because we're digging around about a few dollars, which is nothing significant to this budget. It really is not. And it's embarrassing. Law enforcement is here to help protect us, and we're tying their hands. It's ridiculous to me.
No, nobody's,
I don't need you to respond.
okay, I'll respond to Chair Skolnick then. Nobody's devaluing the need, and it's the process is they have to get an approval. We can't circumvent that. Am I incorrect in thinking that?
Well, it was brought back just because it's going to be a little bit more than the 9,257. So it's still
Right, that's the process.
Still within our budget.
That's the process though, is to bring it back. That's not like,
Could we put a cap on this, Angie? Could we put, say, a $10,000 cap on this for an annual lease? It won't be more than that, and it shouldn't.
I would make that motion. to put
Absolutely. I
$10,000
mean,
cap.
you can. The idea of writing it a little bit open-ended was to give us the ability to analyze the options, to see if it was a better fit for us to get into a lease, or if we needed to do something different and maybe purchase a vehicle. But to give us the option so that when something comes up that actually fits and fits within the budget, that we could go ahead and make a move on it.
I actually, Susie, it would be better to leave it the way it is, because they may lease one, they may decide that buying is a better option.
I did another question. If I could.
Yes, okay.
Angie, how much do they have left in their budget for vehicles?
For vehicles, I'm not sure. I don't have that number with us.
So we don't know what they could potentially spend on this.
No, we have
So
enough in the budget for what's in this motion.
Okay.
Yes, well, Melinda, you were next.
so WeMet doesn't, they prefer to have vehicles leased so they can switch out of them. So if this motion is for purchasing, I am against that. I would prefer us to lease like we have, which the state of Michigan has usually have. So where did the purchase come into play all of a sudden?
We're just trying to get a vehicle to fit the situation. If that
Well, the
means
situation is
that-
they need to be able to transfer out of vehicles because it's detective work, and people who are doing
Correct.
detective work, vehicles eventually become identifiable.
Correct.
So we wouldn't want to purchase something that, I mean, that's not typically how WeMet does the
Would the
vehicles.
undersheriff like to talk, just say something about that? It wouldn't be complicated if we could just go buy a vehicle like in the old days.
Well, buying and leasing is different.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Fago on the lease option. That is our preference. But again, we're at the mercy of the economy and the vehicle that we can find. You know, we can't find a good vehicle with a good price in a lease agreement. Maybe we can find something purchasing. Obviously, that would be something used at this price.
Oh, okay.
So we wouldn't be out there buying a 2023 vehicle new that we're gonna be, you know, a detective's gonna be driving around in for 5 years.
So, oh, go ahead.
But if we get a 2 or 3 year lease, that's something that we can trade that in, get a different car and serve its purpose better for the
Melinda, go
undercover
ahead.
operation.
No, Commissioner Larry, go ahead.
Zach?
Well, I just think this would be Marcia's, you wanted to go green, so I think this would be a perfect opportunity for you to make a friendly amendment.
Oh,
Why not get a Tesla?
I'm No, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, I lost it after that ridiculous. Oh my goodness, I totally lost it. So Ken, like you said, typically we need a leased vehicle.
That's our preference.
Right, for the nature of the work, that is what is needed. And the used car option that you're mentioning would be around the same.
Well, I mean, otherwise we're coming back to the board.
Well, right. So if
we're not going to find a car for that price, a decent car that's going to get them even 2 years.
Right.
Cars are expensive. I mean, obviously the work that's being done, they're driven.
So is there an opportunity, if we had to purchase something, and I think I know the answer to this, but I want to hear it, because we work with Ottawa County within WEMAT, the vehicles can be shared or not because of that.
Yeah, I think when they were under the state police program, I think that was an option. They could be traded between the teams, even regionally or even statewide, depending on the operation. Or as you said, if the vehicle's burnt, they need to swap that out. But yeah, and that's something I'm sure the agency are going to be looking at now, because we're not the only ones dealing with this in Muskegon County.
Right.
I'm sure Lieutenant McIntyre could testify that we're dealing with it all this. Every team in the state's dealing with those that had cars that were through the state. So we'll probably see that evolve into something where we trade with other teams.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Then roll call on this. We're doing the original motion.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pago,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Laring.
No, I want to test.
What'd you say?
No, we went to plus one test.
A Tesla?
Your vote, sir,
No.
and Chair Skolnick.
Yes.
8 yes, 1 no.
All right, the last item for approval is to approve the lease agreement with Baker College and authorize the chair to sign the same contingent upon closing.
Support.
Okay, so we have a motion that's been supported. Now this, nothing will happen here until the actual.
Yes, if we go through the closing, then this would take place. But Baker College needs to assure from the board that we will lease a spot for them, right? The medical wing, their ideal location. So they want to, before they start looking, secure something downtown, they want to make sure they have a place for the next 3 years. That's all this really is. And Foster Swift's been over this back and forth with the corporate counsel at Baker as well.
Okay.
And Foster Smith is good with this, correct?
Yes.
Commissioner Pago,
Pass.
Commissioner Wilkins, Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pago,
Yes.
Chair Skolnick,
Yes.
9 yes.
Last item is information only. The Civic Plus website refresh launch is scheduled for next Monday, March 28th. No, 2 Mondays, March 28th, 2022. A press release will be sent out to the National County Government's Month, the 1st of April. So it's a long work coming, and it's a refresh than what we did a few years back. Just updated information.
Okay.
That ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. All right, next up is public comment. Anyone from the public? I don't know if there's anybody online. Anybody here? No. Right. So there's no public comment. Unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business? So none new business. Is there any new business?
I just had a quick question. Commissioner Hughes mentioned advertised the director, deputy administrator internally. Commissioner Nash recommended externally. I didn't really get a good sense of what the board wants on that.
I would like to, the reason that I thought that would be an important thing right now is, especially as we're moving into Baker, I thought maybe somebody that is more familiar with the workings of the county would be a better fit right now than having to, right in the middle of all of that, try and teach somebody how our county runs. So that's why I thought that. And I also believe wholeheartedly that we have some excellent candidates within the county, not including me. But
Charles?
Well, I'm just responding. I think, you know, we've got good internal candidates, but we also have a lot of people outside who don't have to be trained. They understand county government, and we don't know what kind of gems we could be missing out there. And I would definitely like to see whoever takes this position be able to, you know, work well with Mark, you know. So one day, you know, Mark may decide he's not going to be here. We need to have somebody that can actually, you know, be ready to step into that. But there's tons of talent out there, and I think, you know, if we limit ourselves to just internal, we could miss out on something that's maybe even better out there.
Mark, what do you prefer?
Well, I mean, there's two things to this. I agree with what Charles just said, but also what kind of message do we send to our other internal is what my concern is. Maybe there's not there. Our policy does allow internal and then external, but some positions do both at the same time. So I mean, we do a little bit of different. Our policy is not black and white on it. So it is. I mean, it's a good discussion, and that's one of the inputs from the board.
I'll just add one more thing, and that is we were doing internal and external when we hired Mark. So it's not that we are just looking outside, but we want to leave no rock unturned. And we did have some good candidates, but we preferred to go with Mark over those candidates.
Are you looking for
a
consensus or a motion?
Yeah.
I was just going to ask.
Consensus is fine with me. I just heard both ends of it on Thursday, so I did not, or last Tuesday.
I was going to be prepared to make a motion.
I'd like to follow up on Charles, and those are really good options too. I guess I feel like if we were to go inside and Mark were to look at the options that we have here, if he was unhappy or thought he could do better outside, I'd like to have that option available too. But I would like to start inside.
Me too.
I agree with.
I want to make a motion then that we advertise internally and externally.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to do a search externally and do an internal search. And we'll have some more discussion on that. I'd like to go, I'm going to go first, only because I think we should look internally and just see what happens. And if he's happy, if Mark is happy, because he's the one that's going to have to work with him. Of course, we'd be in that process too a little bit. I would be happy with that, and it's a chance for, if we do have a really good internal candidate, which we probably do, it's a chance for somebody to move up. It also would be quicker. If we hire somebody from the outside, it's going to take quite a while, and then there's going to be the learning, just the learning process about the county and everything. I know that people do understand how counties work, but they're not all the same. But anyway, okay, who else? Zach?
For once, you and I are going to agree on something.
Wow. The Tesla's going to take over a year.
There we go.
So I agree that we need to look internally. This was my comment. We need to look internally first. And if that person can't be found that's agreeable to this board, then we go externally.
Linda, I see you're shaking your head.
No, I agree with Commissioner Nash.
Do it at the same time.
Yep. Which is what the motion was for. So.
Okay, Linda, roll call. So the motion is to go do both. So if you vote yes on that, the search is outside and inside. If you vote no, it's just inside. Is that, if this gets voted down, we're just going to do the internal search.
Yep.
Okay, so no is internal, yes is mentioned.
Commissioner Wilkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
No.
Commissioner Seer?
Yes.
Commissioner Heavy Wright?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hughes,
No.
Commissioner Laring,
No.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pago,
Yes.
Chair Skolnick,
No.
5 yes, 4 no.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, Kristen, how long is that going to take? Just so we have some idea what we're.
Yeah, Kristen Wade, Human Resources Director. The external posting has to be at least 10 days.
Oh,
So you
okay.
can do it
So it's not going to take
2
2
weeks,
months.
right?
Okay.
So you can do it longer, but at least
Okay.
that 2-week period.
That's fine. All right, thank you. Okay, final board comments. Anybody? I have one. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to read something. This is a press release that came out in January. And this was 5 days after we made a vote on the full board. On January 22nd at approximately 7 a.m., the North Shores Police Department was called to the Honolulu Shores Mobile Home Park at 1281 East Honolulu, reference a domestic assault with a gun involved. When officers arrived, they found that a female had been assaulted and a 34-year-old male had also threatened her with a long gun. The female escaped out the door and ran to a neighboring mobile home. Officers set up a perimeter and attempted to call inside to talk with the male suspect. Officers did not receive an answer by phone, so the response turned into a barricaded gunman situation. Male suspect allegedly had made threats to shoot police officers and to burn the home down. The Muskegon County Emergency Response Team was called to assist with security at the scene and to evacuate residents near the home. An armored vehicle was then used to safely escort citizens to safety. The North Shores Fire Department canteen was called to provide shelter to those who were evacuated. Once the neighbors were evacuated, the Muskegon County Emergency Response Team was able to use a loudspeaker to talk to the suspect into surrendering. At 11 a.m., the suspect was walked peacefully out of the home and surrendered to the Muskegon County Emergency Response Team. And I won't read the rest of that, but I read that because, you know, we've had a lot of meetings where we're making a lot of decisions regarding our law enforcement. And we have to understand that, you know, similar to today, you know, when do we start trusting the people that we put in charge? I think we put them in charge because we know that they're competent. We know that they have intelligence. We know they have experience. But then we bring them up here and we start questioning like they're criminals. And I don't think our finance team and our sheriff is in cahoots to get us a vehicle we don't desire. But we also have to realize we don't have to micromanage every little thing that they're doing. They're trying to do it with the best interest of this community. And I hate to say what would have happened to those citizens who got escorted from that scene by that armored vehicle if we didn't have that armored vehicle. 4 days before that, we were voting to get rid of it. We never had a situation, but we said we need to have it just in case. And then 4 days later, we needed it. So just something for us to think about. I think that we should just be really careful what we're doing and how we're doing it, because a lot of decisions we make are very important to all our citizens. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Nash. That was a press release.
It was a press release. That's
Right,
what I was
read it.
reading.
I never
Mark sent it.
didn't say anything.
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time in a presentation over the guns. And I just want to say there's just one race, the human race.
Mm-hmm.
And if we keep doing studies, I don't know how we're going to come up with unity and be unified if we keep picking at the sores, the differences in our skin color, and doing studies and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars of research to try to pick apart the differences. when we're one race, there doesn't need to be studies and all kinds of marketing and techniques based on color. I don't see the people with the darker hue as any less than or greater than myself. We're all part of the same human race. And to study and pick apart this thing suggests that our law enforcement, that they would even invest in this kind of time, that they're racist. And we need to do studies to prove that we're not. I don't agree with this whole scenario that we need to go down this road. There's no difference in us. We all come from Adam and Eve, and there's only one race, human race, and we don't need to spend thousands of dollars trying to pick apart the differences when we're all from the same genome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. Anybody else? It's not 4:15. We're adjourned.